The Right Armor to Fight Fear by Karisa Moore. David said to Saul, "Let no one lose heart on account of this Philistine. Your servant will go and fight him." Saul replied, "You are not able to go out against this Philistine and fight him. You are only a young man, and he has been a warrior from his youth. All those gathered here will know that it is not by sword or spear that the Lord saves, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give all of you into our hands." 1 Samuel chapter 17, verses 32 to 33, and verse 47. "Time to cut the apron strings, Mom," the gruff voice said on the other side. It wasn't my apron strings I wanted to use to strangle the man on the phone. Until that moment, I lived under the illusion that I did not let fear of what I experienced in childhood cloud my judgment regarding my children. I never want to keep them from something they love or calling from God because of my experiences. Yet, for 2 days after my son bounced in announcing his desire to go to camp, I was almost crippled with fear. My stomach was in my throat as I considered my 10-year-old being 2 hours away with strangers for 5 days and 4 nights. I had let his brother go to space camp at the same age. Why was I responding so poorly? Suddenly, he looked smaller, and the adventure too big for him. Daniel showed so much maturity and excitement. He saved up his money for the trip and was willing to work through his own anxiety of traveling away from us. He was settled, but I was not. I called the camp director for reassurance, but instead, I felt like I was being pegged as a ridiculous, overprotective mother. When my husband got home, I told him what the director said, expecting validation. Instead, my husband agreed with the man's assessment. No phone to keep him safe. Everything in me was screaming, and my voice became more agitated as our intense fellowship ensued. Fear had a grip and was now messing with my relationships. Even when fears are logical and come from a real, often very frightening place, being controlled by fear drives a wedge between our spirit, God, those who love us, and even reality. I was prepared for a battle, but I was fighting the wrong enemy. Like Saul, I had put on heavy-duty armor and prepared for battle, only to hide in the tent and expect defeat. I was facing a giant and needed a David-sized perspective of God. How did David get so confident that God would defeat Goliath? Experience. When David arrived at the battlefield, Goliath towered over and mocked the short Israelites daily. They were frozen in fear. On the other hand, David looks at the giant and asks, "Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God?" 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 26b. David knew God rescued him from the lion and the bear. Goliath would be no different. Can you imagine it? Coming at each experience confident that God's plan will never be thwarted, no matter how daunting the obstacle may be. God is bigger than anything I fear. He has equipped me with the right armor. I will not lose heart and share. God has been faithful. God has used what the enemy meant for evil for the salvation of many. As I examined the unknowns of camp, excitement bubbled up. Daniel had prepared. He prayed over his own fear of being away from us, and he knew God would be with him there. How could I not do the same? Like Saul, I needed to let him try. I noticed that David couldn't wear the armor Saul offered him. David wasn't used to fighting that way. It was too cumbersome for a shepherd boy. He needed his own method. A stone and a sling suffice in the hands of a mighty God. God has designed armor unique to each of us. Let's wear the right armor. Scripture, God's faithfulness, trust, and obedience. If Goliath could be taken down with a sling, smooth stones, and total belief in the power of our mighty God, so can anything we are tempted to fear. My focus shifted to equipping Daniel to trust God, regardless of what may happen. I became inspired and encouraged by Daniel's excitement. I expected God's goodness instead of harm. In contrast, my list of bad outcomes shrank. What God could and would do through Daniel was spectacular. Ultimately, it wasn't just Daniel who stepped toward a deeper trust in God. I faced down my giant. What giant do you need to slay? Use the armor you have been given. Suit up and see the mighty power of God. What fear are you rehashing and rehearsing? List and meditate on verses that speak to victory because God is in your life. What qualities do you see in David or other heroes of the Bible that testify to God's trustworthiness in all things? What armor best fits you?